Hello, everybody. As you see, I'm extra comfortable today. I'm in my lounge clothes. So we're just going to get into it, give it a few more moments, and we're going to get into it. I hope y'all had a wonderful week. I've been busy, good busy, but busy. I'm trying to remember what tea I have. I think it is a peach and ginger, and I put some lemon and honey in it. So, yeah, I hope you all are enjoying reading the book, Boundaries Find Peace. I've been feeling like it's very beneficial. Again, that's what we're reading it, or that's what I'm reading it for. Trying to find space on this counter. So let's jump in. So we are on chapter 6, and it's identifying and communicating your boundaries. Oh, again, same thing. If you want to join in live on the chat, the link is in the comment section, the first comment. So I don't know if I can pin that comment. Whatever. I think I pinned it, so it's there. So you don't have to be boundaryless to be in love. And that statement alone means a lot. Like, I had to think about situations in my life, and I don't necessarily know. Now, I think with a lot of social media, I'm going to speak more so to the people like 40 and older. Um, of course, you know boundaries, but I think, depending on your upbringing, um, it wasn't necessarily as addressed as negative with a lot of the stuff that we're going through this book. That's why it's good. As you grow, you mature, you learn, you know more about yourself, you know what you want, what you don't want, and identifying that within yourself. Because I feel like I said, I can only speak for myself, but also the generation X and up, um, that I think a lot of what we was engrafted into us was a sense of, whether it's religion, whether it's whatever that is, and love and unconditional love. And when you get, you know, I don't, it's sad to say, almost programmed into a lot of that, you think you should tolerate. You don't see the sense of boundaries because you're thinking you're expressing love to people. And once you get to a point where you're identifying self, identifying whole self, recognizing whole self. It wasn't necessarily that you hated self or, lacked self love. It was a sense of thinking that you were doing this from a kind heart, and usually are, but also from a heart that is supposed to be in line with, unconditional love. And with that being said, I do believe that you can practice unconditional love with boundaries. But for me, and I feel the way I was raised in some regards, is that a lot of boundary setting or a lot of lack of boundaries was the result of thinking I was showing a person love in a sense, or tolerance or unconditional conditional love. But let's get into it. So we're on page, that was page 97, 98. It says, when we passive aggressively set boundaries, we say something um, indirectly to the other person, or we speak to someone who isn't in the position to resolve the issue. I think that is absolutely correct. I think I can be passive aggressive. I fluctuate from being passive aggressive to just aggressive. Like, if something happens in my presence, or somebody crosses a boundary that I haven't set, but it's just my boundary that I made for myself. And I think it is obvious. Like, if it's something that's obvious that I'm like, they should have not done that, I'm going to give you a look. I might say something, don't test me, but I'm not actively or assertively expressing that boundary or what that was that crossed my boundary. But you will definitely see it on my face. I might say something to you, but it's not direct, clear, and that's a problem, I think, and that's why I'm here. So on the same chapter, page 99, it says 4 ways to unsuccessfully communicate your boundaries. And she goes with passive, let me start over. Passive aggressive manipulation, and she breaks them down. So with aggressive, she says aggressive communication is attacking another person with harsh, pushy, or demanding words and behaviors instead of stating what we want. Um, so examples of that can be demeaning others to make your point. I don't think I do that. Yelling or name calling and cursing as tactics to convey your opinion. Yeah. Um, Using the past to shame people. No, that's not my thing either. Being loud and wrong. I see this loud. And this is so funny because this is my phrase. People will be loud and wrong all day long and really say it with their chest and think they saying something and absolutely wrong to the core, and they expect you not to check them. Confronting people to pick a fight. I don't do this. Use cynical humor to ridicule such as you're fat. I don't think I do any of that. In these examples, I'm not aggressive. Then they have passive aggressive. I will act out how I feel, but will deny how I feel. That I do. Let me see the examples she gives here. She said, appearing upset but refusing to admit it. I don't know, refusing to admit it, because if somebody asks, I will tell. Make verbal attacks not relating to the current situation. Nah. Being moody or for no known reason. I just think I'm moody in general. Not that that's all the way good thing, but I like to be in my own space, put it that way. Bring up issues from the past, engaging in problem focused complaining, gossip about things that you could fix but have no intention of addressing. No, I don't think personally, but I think there's a combination or a range of that in some of those, but one of them I really pay attention when people do is gossip about stuff, and you're like, why don't you go talk to that person, but they don't want to do that. That's something. It's just it bothers me. Manipulation. When someone uses manipulation, they do or say something they hope will cause the other person to feel and do what the manipulation wants. I know all of us have experienced this. Like someone will call you with this, and you can hear the sadness in their voice, and you know something's coming. It's just like, spit it out. Just spit it out. Don't try to manipulate me into it. I'd rather somebody just say what they got to say so I can say yes or no. Um, but I think, to be honest, especially as kids, we've all done that in some manner. With this, it says making an issue that you have with them seem like an issue with you. Um, hmm, Making an issue you have with them seem like an issue with you, gaslighting, asking for help at the last minute and informing you that they have no other options, telling a story that's intended to invoke pity, leaving out critical parts of the story to persuade you to support them, with holding affection to get you to feel bad or change your behavior, using your relationship with them as a reason why they should do certain things. Manipulation just bothers me on so many levels, because it's like, we can, at this point, And that's why we're here. We're just trying to have healthy relationships. I want to come to a point in my life and in the lives of the people that are in my circle to just have honest, healthy communication. I don't know why that seems so hard today. I see when people comment on stuff, when you're reading posts, it's just like healthy communication has gone out the window. So when books come out, which should seem like the obvious thing to do, it's just not. And I understand it's like opening Pandora. I feel like the internet and social media has opened Pandora's box in good and bad way. Well, Pandora's box just in general, but it's open ways of communication, which is a good thing. But the negative that comes along with it, there's been so much negative that people feel like they can do, say, manipulate, whatever. And healthy communication, one on one, and intimate relationships, whatever, work relationships, it doesn't seem like as many healthy relationships anymore. There is not enough substance. There's not enough maturity. It just seems like a lot of people are always, it's either my way or nowhere, manipulation of like aggressiveness, passive aggressiveness. It doesn't seem like there is enough of the mature, assertive, this is what I want, this is what I expect, this is what I need type of relationships. As you are coming on and you replay this, let me know what you think, because I feel like this pendulum, and it's in every aspect. And boundaries are just many things that I'm seeing that is just when we're so far on the end of the pendulum, is about to swing back and balance itself out. And I feel like hopefully, maybe it's just in the circle that I'm in or in the space that I'm in, that people want to become more balanced, more mature, owning self, becoming the best versions of themselves, because that's just a healthy place to be in. You don't want to always be fighting yourself or with other people about what's healthy for you. So I'm going to go on to assertiveness, and that is page 103. And she talks about how assertiveness is the way. When someone is assertive, they will think something like this: I know what my needs are. I will communicate them to you. The healthiest way to communicate your boundaries is to be assertive. And this is, I think, for what I see, even in myself, this is what healthy communication and healthy relationships miss. It's like we expect people to read our minds, we expect people to, just figure it out. And you could be friends, family, what am I trying to say, romantic relationships. So you're generally you are in relationships with good people. But when you clash on the level of just communication, their hearts can be pure and your heart can be pure. But if you're not communicating, you guys are doing things that you think is right or whatever, the spotty sense ain't working correctly. You can't read each other's mind correctly. If that's not going on, I think you just ruin relationships in general. And that's why I think right now that's how we're supposed to be getting in line. Or me, I want to speak for me. I'm getting in line because I feel like, again, I know what I want. I need to know how to clearly communicate that assertively with no gray area, so we're not missing the point. And if that person is meant to be in your life and wants to be in your life, they will respect that, and they will go along with those boundaries. Now, if compromise is needed, depending on what that is, and maybe not, that's something that you can communicate at that point. But you can't go into a situation assuming somebody, first of all, knows your boundaries if you didn't communicate them. Because even though you have your own boundaries and you know what that looks like for you, the other person has their boundaries and they know what that looks like for them. So again, if even if it's two good people don't have to be good for each other, no matter what type of relationship that is. You can be two good people that aren't good for each other. So it doesn't mean that you're bad people, but if you never communicate your boundaries, you don't know, but like, you know what, that's not for me. You cool peoples, but this ain't gonna work in this capacity. Y'all might be excellent friends, but horrible, romantic lovers or whatever the situation is. So examples of assertiveness. Say no to anything you don't want to do. That's simple. Tell people how you feel as a result of their behavior. That's simple. It does seem simple in the moment sometimes. Share your honest thoughts about your experiences. Respond in the moment. Instead of talking to a third party, talking directly to the person you have issues with. I think these are all awesome points. And make your expectations clear up front instead of assuming people will figure it out. Again, I think that is, if we just wrote that, I think that's I think that's an exercise. Page 103, where she gives their examples of being assertive. I think that I'm going to do that as an exercise for this year. Is just work on those. Like, say no when I think I do a good job at that. And tell people how you feel as a result of their behavior. I do need to do better with that. Share your honest thoughts about your experience. I think I kind of okay. Responding to I definitely need to do more of that, because in some instances I do, some instances I don't. Instead of talking to a third party, um, talking directly to the person you have issue with. I think a combination of that, because I think we all vent. I think it's when it's unhealthy, when that venting just goes there, that you're never talking to that person. Sometimes you just need to get out off your chest so you won't say the wrong thing. But I think you definitely need to talk to that person that you have a problem with instead of talking to everybody else, because those are seeds. Again, you can have two good people misunderstanding two different boundaries, and because you're not communicating, you're clashing, but you're planting seeds in other people's head about somebody else, when that might not be the case with that person. But that's not all situations, that's just individual. um how to successfully communicate your boundaries and be clear. Do your best to be as straightforward as possible. Step two, directly state your need or request or say no. That's, like I said, a lot of this is very clean cut, but we just don't do it. And I don't understand. Like I see to myself, because I'm getting there. And if we just follow just clear steps, if we just, you don't want to do it, don't do it. I remember I was not naming a relative of mine. We went home to visit one time, and this person would call the other relatives and tell them we're home and all that stuff, and then give people, say they're coming by and visit, and then when the people start calling back, I'm like, oh, where you at? That person got mad about the people calling back and saying where you at, when they told them, well, I'll be over at this time. Well, don't tell somebody you're going to be over and expect them not. If that was something that you were just saying that in the moment, don't do that to people, because people are going to get mad. If you say yes when you meant no, and then you regret saying yes, so you start brushing people off and not answering calls, that's something you need to work on. Because if a person gets mad after you do that to them, that's on you, because you crossed your comfort boundary and you didn't say no, your discomfort boundary, and you didn't say no. That's something you got to work on. Just an example. Okay. Step three, dealing with a discomfort that happens as a result of setting boundaries. is the hardest part. A lot of people have, where am I at on my sheet? So a lot of people get guilt, they have fear, they have sadness, they have remorse, and they feel awkward when they set boundaries with people. And we got to get over that. In order to grow, in order to be mature, in order to get things accomplished, in order to have healthy relationships, we got to say what we got to say. And I feel like as a 40 plus year old, if you are, not aggressive and nasty acting, you're, like I said, it's not what you say, is how you say it. If you're communicating your boundaries assertively, clearly, with respect for the other person, and they have a problem with that, that's the other person's problem at that point. Because if you're saying, you know what, I don't like you calling me after this time, or please don't come by my house without calling, or um don't come into my house without taking off your shoes, or I don't like when you talk to me that way. When having a argument, or when we're having a disagreement, because it doesn't have to be an argument. We're having disagreement. I don't like the way you talk to me that way. Don't be condescending or sarcastic or try to gaslight me in a conversation. That's not appropriate. We're adults. Communicate in a more mature manner, or whatever the situation. If that person consistently disrespect, that is on them, and they keep on crossing that boundary, you have to see whether that person is needs to be in your life at that point. So if you're creating boundaries, stating boundaries in a respectful, assertive, and clear way, and the people around you don't like that, at that point, it is their problem. That's what I say. Period. Point blank. Um, and it says on page 107, if you're feeling guilty, here are some reminders. It's healthy for you to have boundaries. Other people have boundaries that you respect. Setting boundaries is a sign of a healthy relationship. If boundaries ruin a relationship, your relationship was on a cusp of anyway. Amen and amen. Going on. um, she talks about boundaries and current relationships, new relationships. We're not going to get into that, but boundaries with difficult people. I think this is the worst when I usually just cut people off. Again, this is why I'm reading the book, so we can try to get a balance on that. But if these people are just people that give you pushback, that test limits. When I say I hate the test limits one, I hate that. Rationalizing and questioning, defensive, and a silent treatment. Um, when people, when someone violates your boundaries, you can assertively restate them, correct the violation in real time. Don't let the opportunity pass, and then mention it later. Say it was in the, wait a minute. Correct the violation in real time. Don't let the opportunity pass and then mention it later. Say it in the moment. Accept that they, although difficult, are entitled to their response, even if it's different from the one you like. So that's, again, sometimes people just don't mesh. In this point of my life, always say everybody, child with with the T right here. Everybody is not your cup of tea, and you are not everybody's cup of tea. And that is okay, because we can respectfully disagree. We can respectfully just not like each other, in the sense that you are not going to be my best friend. We are not going to spend a lot of time together. But if I'm out, I don't need to be disrespectful. I don't need to be stank acting. I don't need to be any of that. We are adults. Everybody's not going to get along, and that's okay. I think that's what is needed in this society. I don't always have to agree with you, but just because I don't agree with you, you don't agree with me, it is okay. That is just life. We have different likes and proclivities and different things that happened, and makes us, not like certain things and makes us like certain things. That is okay. That's a variety of life. But we can, in that sense, still respect each other. I don't know why we got to the point either you like me and you don't, or I mean, in a sense, but you like me. Oh, it's like polar opposites. If I have to like you, but I have to like everything you do, or if I don't like you, I can't like some of the things. It is such a variety out there, y'all. Don't be that black and white. It is what it is. Um, when you make a boundary, there is an acclimation process. And she was like, allow time for people to adjust to your boundary, especially if it's a new boundary with somebody you've known for a while. And you've let, whether it's just new in a sense that you've never set that boundary, or you reinstating that boundary, or whatever it is. Um, if you just met them, that's a little different because it's easier. But if you've known that person and you let things slide, that person has to get used to the new boundary and the new you. And that's relationships. That's what another thing I don't understand. People like, oh, they've changed. If it is a good change and you have to be honest with yourself, that's what they're supposed to do. Like, I don't understand how you think that people aren't supposed to change if they're not changing. I feel like that's the problem. If you are growing, you're maturing, you're around different people, different situations, different things happen in society, different things happen in your personal life. How can you not change? How can, if you're seeing things that you've never seen before in society, if you've experienced something in your own personal life and it shook you, or even if it was a good thing that it changed you for the better, whatever that situation, you're going to change. If you're changing every day, every moment, whatever the situation, every year, the other person's changing too. You guys, everybody has to allow each other the grace in the room to be themselves and to change. And that's why communication is essential. And then in that change, if people developed new boundaries, that's a beautiful thing, because they're taking their mental health and everything else in consideration and say, I want this for me. So nobody should take offense to somebody wanting to do better for themselves. But again, that's my opinion. So, what boundary statements are: I want, I need, I expect um, from people. So, make it very, very clear when you're setting boundaries. And I'm going to move on to chapter 7. So, blurred lines make it plain. Boundaries are assertive steps that you take verbally and behaviorally to create peaceful life. I'm trying to remember where she was saying in this. Oh, she was giving the story. Um, Chloe grew up tired and always helping her brother. Um, about a sister that was always helping her brother out, and in the relationship with her brother and her mom in this situation, with the mother always saying that, well, that's your brother, that's family, that's blood. And we, I know I've had, nah, to a certain extent, I had that growing up dealing with my brother next to me. It's like, that's your brother. Okay, he's my brother, but if he's crossing boundaries, we're gonna have to set some boundaries on family too. So having to set boundaries with a brother or a family member that's overstepping, and then family members that are pacifying the overstep of boundaries in your life by somebody else. So you can set boundaries on both of those fronts. If somebody is, always asking for money in your family, never returning, and there's always something going on with them. There's everything. They're not doing anything. You have to set a boundary with that person. And then somebody come in and be like, well, that's your mother, or that's your brother, or that's your cousin. We blood. Blood is thick in the water. We got to stick together. No, no, no. Let's pump the brakes. This is my boundary. You have to accept it, and you cannot come in and intervene on the boundary that I accepted. I mean, set for this person. Um, and you have to set boundaries for both of those people. So I think just making your boundaries really clear and not blurred in any situation where when those boundaries are crossing different situations, especially in family. You tell one family member something and you like, I don't want nobody to know this, and that family member goes tell somebody else. That's a boundary cross, and you just have to understand and be okay with even giving boundaries to your family members. um She was talking about blurred boundary breakdowns. She's like gossiping, telling people how to live their lives. Oh, yes. Um, Instructing others as to what they should do, should and shouldn't tolerate in their relationship. Yeah, I am the friend that would tell you, I don't want to hear your problems, in a sense that, not in a mean way, in a sense that if you have an issue with your husband, and it's not an issue of abuse or anything like that. It's just an issue that tomorrow y'all then by tomorrow y'all then had made up, had makeup sex, and everything's good and golden in your life. Don't bring that problem to me. I think you should, there's certain things that you should not bring to outside people, because even though you forgive that person, if your friend loves you, and that's why y'all friends, your friend loves you, and you keep on bringing problems to her, that person is going to have an attitude with your significant other or your husband or whoever that person is, especially when you bring in issues to them. It's just like planting a seed. And if you, especially because it's one side, is, and not that you, I'm not saying that what happened didn't happen, but if it's something that you're going to make up with that person later on, don't bring all those issues to your friend, because then you're going to want your friend to be on your side and or like your significant other. But when they keep on hearing stuff about who that person, like I said, I'm not talking about issues of abuse in any type of way, like sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse. That's a problem. Tell your friend. Your friend needs to help you. I'm talking about those things that you just in your feelings, and you always being negative about whoever or whatever situation be. I'm like, I tell my friends, if this is going to affect the way I look at your significant other, don't tell me, because it could be anything. I don't want to give examples because it could be anything. But if there's a real need, like, not that you can't vent, but don't vent all the time. That's all I'm saying. Some things need kept within certain relationships. I guess that's the easiest way to say it, what I'm trying to come across. Certain things need kept within certain relationships. Like I said, not all things. If it's abuse, that's something totally different. But certain things, keep within your relationship. Keep your relationship whole. Don't always let everybody from the outside give you opinions on your relationship when you can go to that person and work out the issue. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Moving on. Well, I think number 4 was pushing your values on other people. Don't do that. Issuing ultimatums. This was interesting to me that she brought this up in this book, and she was talking about ultimatums is a choice given to another to either change or submit to a designated consequence. There are consequences that we intend to uphold. And she said, if an ultimatum is issued and not adhered to, it's a threat. People don't respect threats, but they can learn to respect ultimatums. And that is actually true. Like, if again, going back to somebody that keeps on overstepping your boundaries, like, if it comes to the point where you're saying, if you do this again, we can no longer be friends. If you do this again, you can no longer come over my house. If you do this again, you can no longer, whatever that thing is. Those are ultimatums, and those are healthy ultimatums, because you're making very clear, like, I'm going to dead this one way or another. And sometimes people need that, especially the ones that want to test boundaries. Those testing the limits. Like I said, I really hate when people do that. It is a pet peeve of mine. It's like you don't keep on pushing people because you don't know what's gonna come out. Like my mom said, you don't know what's gonna come out. Be the quietest people, but we ain't gonna get into that. And she gets into affirming statements. I can have boundaries in my relationship with my families. Setting limitations with others is a healthy way to ensure that my needs are met. Expressing my expectation is my way of practicing self-care. A healthy relationship will, a healthy relationship ships healthy relationships, people will respect my wishes. Um, Discomfort is a part of the process, meaning discomfort in setting boundaries. It's a part of the process. Nobody wants people. A lot of times, people just don't want to be said no to. You don't even want to get said no to a lot of times. But if it is for a reason that you understand, and somebody made it real clear, like, no, I can't come tonight, or no, I can't do that. That's why communicate. Don't just ghost people. If you're setting clear boundaries on something, no, you can't do this, no, you can't have this, no, you can't do whatever situation, you can respect that. You might not like it, but you can respect that because they set a boundary. Hold on for a second. She had made me laugh. And this other story, she was talking about people telling people to stop, and she talks about not in 90% of the Dr. Seuss book, Eggs and Ham, Sam is asking. Oh, Sam is asked to try green eggs and ham. In a roundabout way, he says he isn't interested by saying things like, "I do not like them here. I do not like them there. I do not like them anywhere." Uh, in this 62-page book, Sam never said, "Stop asking me." I just thought that was so funny because this is so true. It's a children's book, but it's like, I don't like them in the hole. I don't like them on the roof. I don't like. He was like, I just don't like these things. I don't care how you want me to eat them. I don't like them. And then ended up by the end of the book, he really liked them. But people will again test limits or try keep on going around. It's like you got a fort around you, and they just trying to see if they can get in the hole of this fort or this wall. People are expecting you to give in eventually. Again, that is, I hate that because it's very manipulative too. It's like, I mean, you're doing too much. You just doing too much. So people like, stop it. Just stop. Just stop. Um, so she talks about cutoffs and walls. Um, I'm not going to get into all of that. Let's go on to chapter 8. And it says trauma and boundaries. Free yourself from the past with healthy boundaries. It gets into very deep subjects. So I want you to read this on your own, because when you have childhood traumas, whether, abuse, physical, sexual, emotional, neglect, physical, emotional, household dysfunctions, that is going to affect your boundaries and how you set them and the lack thereof, because you don't know it just totally, excuse me, when you don't have autonomy over self, that affects, and that was violent. You don't have autonomy over self, that was violent. You don't see how to regain that affects how you set your boundaries in your life. So I want you to read that for yourself. And then we're going to go, let me see if I want this. Oh, I do want to go over some self-care. So she was like, self-care, if you've experienced codependency, sexual abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional neglect, or physical neglect, you may have challenges with caring for yourself. Taking care of oneself looks like setting manageable expectations around caring and being present for others, maintaining your mental health, operating in your role as a child instead of a parent to child. I'm sorry, operating in your role as child instead of parent to your parents, operating in your role as sibling instead of parent to your siblings, asking for what you need, spending holidays doing things that you enjoy, giving people the space to care for themselves, checking in less often with people who drain your energy, figuring out who you are separately from what you are made to believe about yourself, not using your past as a reason to avoid proceeding with life, talking about your feelings, allowing yourself to feel pleasure, sharing the truth of your past without sugarcoating your experience, being gentle with yourself, teaching yourself things that you weren't taught in childhood, learning and enjoying your body. Okay, in the last chapter, what are you doing to honor your boundaries? Before we teach others to respect our boundaries, we must learn to honor ourselves. And she gets into more of the financial aspect, I believe this is, but this is in every area. Here's a list of some areas where self boundaries are helpful: your finances, your time, your self care, the treatment you allow from others, your thoughts. Yes, you can stop talking to yourself in an unkind way, just like you might stop someone else from being mean to you. Your reactions, the people you allow in your life. And she gets more into detail about like financial, well, she goes into detail about all of these areas and the boundaries to consider when dealing with finances and the honoring to self. It says, I will not loan money to anyone if I can't afford to offer it as a gift. That is my principle. And if you violate, if you ask for it as in the sense that, can I borrow? And I give it to you. In my mind, it's given to you as a gift. But if you don't pay it back and you ask again, you're not getting any money from me. I think that's simple because even though that time it didn't affect me because in my head I already gave it to you, but you asked it in a sense as not can I have, but asked it in a sense that can I borrow and I will give it back to you whenever. If you don't honor your side of that, the next time you ask, I will not give. That's just my rule. I going back, I will co-sign on. She's just giving examples because I ain't co-signing for nothing. I will co-sign on a loan for someone only under the following conditions. I will not co-sign for anyone that's me. I will establish emergency savings, and then time management boundaries. I admit to myself that I can't do anything. Huh? I will stop trying to. Oh, girl, I was like, what did I say? I'm still tired. And my mom keeps on calling, so I'm going to get off pretty soon. I admit to myself that I can't do everything. I will stop trying to do everything and ease into doing what I can without overbooking myself. I will check my calendar before I say yes to any request. I plan to be on time by giving myself more time than I need. Oh, that's me. I I hate being late. I delegate when I can, especially the things I don't need to do myself. I put myself on a schedule write the schedule down and stick to it religiously. I plan my day. I put realistic plans in place to avoid distractions. Self-care boundaries. I say no to things I don't like. I say no to things that don't contribute to my growth. I say no to things that rob me of my valuable time. I spend time around healthy people. I reduce my interaction with people who drain my energy. I protect my energy against people who threaten my sanity. Practice positive self talk. I allow myself to feel and not judge my feelings. I forgive myself when I make a mistake. I actively cultivate the best version of myself. I turn off my phone when appropriate. I sleep when I'm tired. I mind my own business in capital letters in the underline and a highlight. I make tough decisions because they're healthy for me. I create a space for activities that bring me joy. I say yes to activities that interest me despite my anxiety about trying them. I experience things alone instead of waiting for the right person to join me. Boundaries to consider when treatment we allow from other people, from others, I should say. When people raise their voice at me, I tell them it's not okay. I address issues when they arise instead of allowing them to fester. When a boundary is violated, I clearly define my expectations for communication in the beginning and throughout my relationship. Example, I prefer you walk or we I prefer if we talked about serious matters in person instead of over text. When I when I notice that someone is trying to manipulate me by intentionally trying to guilt me or pushing my boundaries, I recognize it as manipulation and uphold my boundaries. When someone says something about me that isn't true, I immediately correct them. Okay. So we have thoughts and mantras of self kindness. It will be okay. I did my best. They didn't deserve me. They didn't deserve me. Things to consider. I speak to myself as gently as I would talk to a small child. I coach myself through awkward moments. I allow myself to make mistakes without judging myself harshly. I don't call myself names. I don't make mean comments about myself, either in my head or out loud around others. That is a that is something I want to speak on. Making comments, negative comments about yourself around other people. When you're the example of how you treat yourself. I I make a effort to treat myself good because I am an example of how I want to be treated. So if you're speaking to yourself negatively in front of other people, it almost gives them an unconscious right to do the same thing. So recognize what you're doing and don't do. I think she did mention something like this. Uh, Making self-deprecating statements is another way that you may be speaking unkindly to yourself. When you make disparaging comments or cruel jokes about yourself, you give others license to do the same. So be mindful of what you say about yourself in front of others. So true. Don't allow yourself or anybody else to disrespect you. Period. Reactions. Make a promise to yourself to set boundaries with regards to how you respond. So, boundaries around that. I don't hit people or any property when I'm upset. If I feel the need to cry, I allow myself to do so. When I get agitated, I remove myself from a situation and practice my breathing until I feel calm. Um, Allowing people in your life and the boundaries around that. Oh man. you considering a boundary. So I create the idea of what type of person I want in my life. I think that's a really good practice also. Like I said, assertiveness on page 103 in this. What is the ideal person that you want in your life? I think that's the good thing to put. So I'll create an idea of the type of people you want in your life. And when I notice issues in my relationship, I honor myself by speaking up. So you can create your own tribe, like a real tribe. Instead of speaking the negative that you have experienced in the past, write down what your true tribe looks like. I think that's an excellent exercise as well. Write down what your true tribe looks like and then create that people. Start cultivating relationships with those people. Like you see people like my thing right now, since I'm so focused on business and so focused on going to the next level, I want to be around people that are very motivated about doing business, that have established businesses already, that are respectable, that I see that, have, that are minding their own business. They're not talking about other people, that they're not putting off that negative, immature energy. They're just owning self, owning their business, going, pursuing their dreams, you know, fun to be around. They got a good sense of humor, but they're so focused and mature and grown woman and grown man energy, like just beautiful, mature, whole energy. That's what I want to surround myself around. I don't want to surround myself around people that always have something to say negative about somebody else. I'm not going to speak that anymore. I'm not going to speak what I don't want. I'm going to speak what I do want. So I think that, like I said, I think that's a very good practice to write down who your tribe, what your tribe looks like, what the attributes of the tribe of people that you want to be in your life, and write that down. And then as you're going about your life, notice those people, like I said, those people that just have that grown woman, grown man energy. They're not negative. They're not talking about other people. They're focused on their own business. They're pursuing their own dreams. They're doing what they have to do to get ahead. So I think that's a good practice. And I am on that note going to close this out with the, what does she say? The power of refreshing and restating your boundaries. Refreshing. As humans, we change, and I think we talked about this earlier. As humans, we change, and our boundaries change with us. It's okay if your tolerance for certain things in your relationship change. You can create new expectations. When this happens, you can say, I no longer, whatever, something no longer works for me. I would like whatever. And then restating, over time, people may assume that your boundaries with them have expired. And that's like, well, over time with long-term relationships. Remind them, as well as yourself, about your expectations, including why they were set. You can't change people, but you can change how you deal with them, what you expect, how you react to them, how often you interact with them, how much space you will allow them to take up in your life, and you, or what you participate in, that role that they play in your life, what people you have contact with, who you allow in your life, and your perspective. And with that being said, you guys have a beautiful week. Keep on setting healthy boundaries. Keep on being your beautiful self. Keep on practicing being your whole self. Keep on, practicing good, healthy mental health and physical health practices. And we're going to do this. We're going to do this and just keep on winning and what we want to win at. So, that being said, have a wonderful, beautiful, amazing day and amazing week. Until next time, bye.